Well, welcome to Focus Today, and delighted to have back in the studio with us Dr. Joel Klein. He's a physician with Ventana Wellness, and we're here to talk about a variety of things. And I think today, Joel, everybody has suffering from food coma.
No, but it's the tryptophan and the turkey, you see, is what they want to blame it on.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think they're all just got food hangover. Hey, a couple things before we get into flu and cold and everything. Your thoughts on flu shots?
Oh boy! I don't know if you
no, go just be yourself, because it's an inside thing here today.
I think they're overdone to some degree, but they work. I think that giving them to everybody is. I come from when they used to say, well, it used to be people who who really were at risk of becoming quite ill with the flu, with giving medical problems where it could really do them in. I think giving them to kids, the benefit for giving them to kids is, yes, they miss less school.
Okay.
That is the only benefit that has been found to giving them when
Therefore, the kids don't want them.
Well, if it's worth it for you to do that. I think that as we can talk about, my feeling is that people take care of their immune systems, which are a little bit late now because it's the stress and diet part of things.
Yeah.
It's how we live. A lot of times that creates a problem. Certainly if you're exposed to a lot of people again, have other medical problems, I think they're worthwhile, but I've also seen some small-scale studies where certain nutritional supplements have worked as well as a flu shot.
All right. Good setup. Good segue to my next one. There's been several articles lately in the news that vitamins are just a bunch of bunk. And I had to go back and I dug through some of those articles and saw how the questions were asked and who was asking the questions, and I just wrote them off as nonsense. But they continue to show up once in a while that vitamins really don't do anything. The research shows that they're a bunch of waste of time. Your thoughts?
The problem is when they're being used indiscriminately, or people just picking stuff off the shelf, or taking this, taking that. Or again, when they do these studies, they do larger scale, and there are people who are going to benefit and people who are not. They're not a panacea. At the same time, for people that they can work, but there are a lot of things that are dangerous. And they're right, and that's the problem, is we hear a lot about those. I just saw the article about kids in Texas having liver failure from the green tea extract.
Okay.
Yep, you abuse anything. You abuse ephedra, and a number of people die.
Yeah.
Like the pitcher from my hometown baseball team. When these things are not used properly. But there is benefit, but the problem is when you study large-scale populations, when you're trying to do control versus the target population, or you're doing a controlled study, it may not work any better than placebo, because they're not selecting out. There are selected populations that it will work for, but they get lumped into the whole. So it's not like, oh, everybody should and everything's going to work. That's the problem. There's a lot of mythology. Oh, you just do this and you're fine, and you take a lot of this. There actually needs to be some thought behind it. So I know that's just a vague answer, but I think in specific instances there are clearly benefits.
The articles were insinuating that all vitamins were a waste of time, and I know I have talked to people in the past that believe that, but I have to tell you that I have personally benefited from the taking vitamin C. I'm a strong believer in C.
Right.
I know that you guys are strong believers in adding D.
Right. And although, be honest with you, the studies on that are kind of like, well, is it really making a difference? And it depends on how you structure the study. And I'm not good enough at reading some of these. I think that sometimes when I've read things, they've literally set up the study, I think, consciously or subconsciously, to make sure they don't get they get the effect, or they study it in the right way, or they design it. But that's the problem. Not everybody is going to benefit from these things. And any statement that begins with always or never is more than likely a lie.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Because they really hammered it hard, and I thought, well...
because they are being overused by people, and they are not being used intelligently. Right. And so they cast a broad brush over everything, when we do know, and we can talk ad nauseum about things of certain things that have been shown to help in various instances.
But part of your own practice, and I know there at Ventana, is that there's that healthy blend of even using some supplements in people's treatments.
Well, we find that, and it is somewhat where, for not as much of a scientific study, certainly stress depletes B vitamins zinc and magnesium. And I find a lot of people were selected use of the vitamins because they're showing signs. I see signs. I can look at if somebody's tongue has a lot of fissures in it. A lot of times that can be B vitamin deficiency, and I'll look at, and they feel better when they take more B, so they may be depleted. Magnesium is huge. I see all kinds of people where I'm helping their insomnia, palpitations, anxiety, these types of things by giving them magnesium. Doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but there's a huge number of those people who are magnesium deficient. Same thing with zinc. Now, zinc won't help everybody with a cold, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who are zinc deficient. And so at the same time, so you give them some zinc and they actually do better. The immune system works better. Mucous membrane immunity works better. So that's the thing. You're trying to cast a broad stroke, and you're not selecting out people because they're not testing people in a way to say, oh, which people can we find out are the ones who are going to benefit? They're not motivated because that would cost more money. And these studies are not being conducted by people who have a lot of money. Those are only being studied by the drug companies or the government that can fund those big type of really controlled studies and this and that. So they're doing more broad brush things that have to do more with association. So this is why you hear a different study every year. This study said this, but this study said that, because they're doing these big association studies that don't really prove whether there was a cause or not.
Because I think it's so funny because here they just a broad brush went after vitamins and said it's in fact, they said the final decision is out. Vitamins are of no value. That was kind of one of the articles. I don't look at that. But then they'll turn around and you'll see an advertisement for a drug, and the disclaimer for this drug.
Well, the FDA makes them say that, which is good, right? It all depends. If you look at it, glass is half empty and glass is half full, and the people in the science, in the medicine, I think typically have one view of the thing, and they say, oh, it's no good. Any of these types of things are that broad brush thing. I mean, the scientists have a limited view of the world sometimes. Some of them are very good, but sometimes a limited view of the world. I mean, has your life been enhanced remarkably by the fact that they finally discovered the Higgs boson, the God particle? Oh yeah, this was the particle that supposedly imparts mass to everything, and they could prove it in equations that it existed. Yeah. But they never could find it, so they built this, $4 billion accelerator in Europe and all that, and say, we found it. And they're all, well, what difference has that really made to the quality of anybody's life? Not that it's not worthwhile, but again, they tend to have a skewed view in a population. And for them to say they're no good is coming from people who have their own internal bias, I think. All
right, let's get into it. Dr. Joel Klein's with us again. Joel is a physician with Ventana Wellness. And I'll talk to the guys in the control room. Maybe we can take some calls here. So.
Oh, really? Are we back?
Well, we could.
Okay.
I'll open up the phone line as soon as the control room tells me I can do that. In the meantime, let's get into it. Cold and flu. Some will say, well, you can have both.
Sure. What we typically call cold is the viral upper respiratory, that is the runny nose, sore throat, that can be sometimes even more congested. It doesn't typically come with a fever. And the thing is, there are 400 different strains of rhinoviruses or whatever that they figure out that supposedly cause colds. Whereas the flu, the true influenza, literally from the Italian under the influence, is people are a lot sicker. They have high fever, they may have chills, they have aches all over, and will feel pretty sick. Versus the cold, where yes, you're run down, you're more tired, but you're not. You literally, with the flu, you're usually in bed because it's pretty nasty. Can also get into the larger airways. People will have loose cough, even productive cough. Typically, if what they bring up is going to be clear, if it starts becoming consistently yellow, or people are having drainage from the nose, it's consistently, not just in the morning, that's consistently yellow, that is, and it's obviously not getting better, and they're feeling more feverish. Those are the things where it's getting more into maybe a secondary bacterial infection that antibiotics can sometimes help.
Okay. Strange, with all of our advances, we can't find a cure to the cold.
Because, as I probably said on this program before, as Louis Pasteur said 120 years ago, it's the host, not the bug, that is the true problem here, especially when you're dealing with viruses and you're dealing with 400 strains of different viruses that cause this. And when they've tried to develop vaccines, number one, to do all 400, and it turns out when the few times they've tried to do it, the immunity doesn't last very long.
Wow.
So it really has not come out. So unfortunately, yes, we can't wave our magic wand, and people are forced to take care of themselves better.
There you go. All right, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you're more than welcome to join the conversation. Dr. Joel Klein is going to be with us for a couple of segments. And the phone number to the studio here is 541-776-5368. If you're outside the immediate area, viewing up and down the coast, or on Roku and anywhere in the United States, you're welcome to join us toll-free, 1-800-373-5368. All right, Julian, thanks for waiting. What's your question?
Hi, it's Jillian. My question is, have you heard of the blood type diet?
Oh, yes, long time ago.
And what are your thoughts?
It's overgeneralized. There's more things going on with people immunologically than in an ABO blood type. I think what's happened is you have a whole bunch of people who, because they're, I think, whatever it is, type A, they found out they were gluten intolerant, and when they did the diet for gluten, the type A or whatever diet it was, that they did better because they actually had a gluten problem. Or you have people who are vegetarians who maybe aren't taking care of their hormone systems in the right way, who actually need animal protein, and when they eat the animal protein on the O diet, they feel better. So the science behind it has been overgeneralized. And so if it's useful to you, it may be for reasons other than your blood type, but I really don't think that that's what's really going on.
Well, what happened with me specifically was I love chicken, especially when my husband barbecues it. And I've eaten it for years and years and years. And at one time, several years ago, I got, in the middle of the night, just got up and got really sick. And then I was fine. I always thought, and it happened a few times, and I always thought it was because maybe the chicken was undercooked and whatnot. And then so I stopped eating it after I heard this, and I felt...
Yeah, you had an allergy to it. I don't know if that had to do with your blood type, but any food that you're eating frequently, more than 3 or 4 times a week, you can develop an allergy to. I'm not sure that that's linked to your blood type. It can be, there are all kinds of factors that can lead to food allergies, the condition of your intestinal tract, how much antibiotics you've been exposed to, and other things that can damage the GI tract that can cause a food allergy. So in your case, I don't think it had to do with the blood type, but yeah, you may have had, if you ate chicken frequently, then you can develop an allergy to it. Yep.
And just one more question, and then I'll let you go. Is it true that your blood aids in the digestion of your food?
Blood aids in the digestion of your food.
Like, it helps the processing.
Not that I'm aware of, not directly. Not that I'm, not that I can think of.
The blood type was that there's certain blood types that won't digest certain types of food.
Again, that doesn't have to do with the blood. It may have to do with immune determinants and things like that. But I'm not really. People are too individual. There are 7 billion types on the planet, and to grade them as to ABO blood type, I think is oversimplistic.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jillian. All right. Phone number 776-5368 if you want to talk to Dr. Joel Klein today. All right. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to deal more with the flu because it is out there. We had one of our own go down over the weekend with it. And if you got any questions, give us a call. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back with Dr. Joel Klein, and he's a physician with Ventana Wellness. And if you want to join the conversation today, we're talking about cold and flu, but if you want to slip something else in there like the blood type diets, boy, those books sold like crazy.
Sure, people are looking for answers.
Yeah,
because they're frequently not getting them from conventional medicine to deal with all the functional problems that people are suffering from that sometimes, a lot of times, don't rise to the level of disease, or that the treatments, again, people are learning that there are other ways to do things, so they're hungry for other solutions other than the typical things that conventional medicine is offering as the only answer.
All right. 776-5368 is the local number, toll free outside the immediate area at 1-800-373-5368. All right, the flu season's upon us, and is there varieties of flu?
Yes, but in terms of the virus that's caused it, there's A and B viruses and all that. But typically, influenza is clinically influenza. Now, it can get, again, when people develop complications. So people with weaker immune systems can then develop a pneumonia from it because their immune system's weaker, or if they get more of a bacterial bronchial infection. But typically, true influenza is the flu. Now, the problem is we use the word flu more generically, so we'll talk about a stomach flu. Mm-hmm. It's not influenza, it's a stomach virus, but we tend to call it a flu because it's, in the beginning, it's kind of the same presentation. People can be, fever, nauseated, vomiting, but those are caused by different viruses.
Okay, so the stomach flu isn't necessarily the other flu.
Correct, yeah. Well, we're talking about typically, yeah, exactly, and that's the problem. We've gone into a generic use of the term flu, but typically it's meaning the true influenza, which is the respiratory infection.
When's the time to call a doctor?
Well, again, like I said, if you were having if you're bringing up frequent yellow discolored material, if you're coughing up or it's constantly coming out of the nose, if the fever and things drag on for more than a few days, certainly if you become very short of breath, these are things where it's more likely gotten into complications of it. But the problem in the beginning, can be scary. People can't tell the difference, but those are the typical things that I would look for if I was thinking somebody was having something other than just an influenza infection.
I think I got it last year, and I went down hard for 3 days. I mean, I couldn't even lift a finger.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of it. Right, and then it can take you a few weeks to get your strength back from it. Yeah, that would be more typical. So after 3 days, if it's not getting better, it's getting worse, that would be the time to call.
All right. Now, is there a cold vaccine, or is there things we can do for a cold to prevent it?
No, because like I say, there are 400 different strains of viruses that they haven't been able to make it. And when they've tried experimentally, and I don't know if this has been recently, but I remember in the past, what little immunity people got didn't last long enough for it to really make a difference clinically to make it worthwhile giving on a large scale basis. And I think that, there are potential problems with giving people all of these proteins, what we call antigens, that can cause allergy. And there's some evidence, there's some people believe that all the vaccines that are being given may be one contributing factor to the increased amount of inflammatory and autoimmune illness that we see.
Really?
So, again, it's not etched in stone, it's not, but there are reasons to believe that based on physiology and scientific basis. So it may not be the best thing to inject ourselves with every single antigen out there. It's more a better idea, but harder to do, is to actually treat our body in a way that it can handle these bugs.
Some of these things you take, they'll say in there, only take it once every 12 hours or something like that, and certainly don't take a heavy amount of it. Apparently it does something to you, really sets you back. I'm trying to think of some of these.
You mean like the decongestant things? Well, the problem is, and the thing is, they don't shorten the illness by a day. All they do is help you feel better. That's all they do.
Well, they make you breathe.
They help you feel better. The congestion.
Yeah.
The decongestants in particular are stimulants. They can excite people with heart problems. It can cause palpitations. Men with prostate problems can have a big problem if they take a decongestant, because it can actually close things up worse. And every once in a while, you have somebody who goes into the retention to the point where they have to go into the emergency room and get a catheter. Yeah. So, and I'm not, but I would rather put the decongestant where it's necessary, right in your nose, rather than take it by mouth to do that. And the antihistamines are sedating. I mean, yes, they help some, but that nobody should expect any great relief from it. They'll help a little bit. And people said, well, should I? That's up to you. There's no need to take those things. You will recover without them. Question is, do you need something to help you feel a little bit better or get through the day?
All right, I have a question about aspirin, but let me go to Midge. Hi, Midge. Go ahead. What's your question for Dr. Joel Klein?
Yeah, I'm wondering about these shingles injections. Would you get one?
I would take care of my body. So I have patients that I've recommended it to. Again, the shingles is a viral infection. Once you've had chickenpox, the virus sets up shop in your body. So people who are not taking care of their immune systems through diet, through stress, they have multiple medical problems like diabetes and the like, they should probably get the vaccine. Otherwise, very healthy people who have a good diet, who are taking care of themselves, may not necessarily need to get it. The shingles can be bad, but what I've found is that the people who have the bad complications of it tend to be sicker people. And my healthy patients who get it, they actually do okay. There's an antiviral drug we use, and they don't seem to get the complications. But the complications can be very bad, and that's what everybody's trying to focus on the small percentage of people who get chronic nerve pain after. So in order to prevent that small percentage, they're asking everybody to take the vaccine. So I depend on an individual basis. I have not gotten one, but I'm not old enough yet either.
Well, with fibromyalgia and arthritis, do you recommend it?
Depends. Yeah, fibromyalgia has to do with other issues, arthritis. So with those things, you probably do have immune issues going on, and you may have food allergies that are suppressing your immune system. So in that case, you might be the kind of person who should.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You too. I have to tell you, I got it. Shingles.
Yeah.
I thought I died and went in the wrong direction.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it can be bad. Yeah.
I mean, it just took me down. And it came on so fast, and I was away. I was out of town when it happened, and so I go to the ER, and whoa, man! I guess there's a point where you can treat it early.
If you start on an antiviral medicine, the typical one either is Overax or Valtrex, within the first 48 hours, it can really make a difference.
Can it come back?
Sure.
Okay.
Because the virus is always in your body. So the question is, when does it come out? And again, my feeling is it comes out during times of stress. And quite frankly, my personal experience, and we've talked about this, inflammatory, burning types of problems sometimes have to do with anger issues.
Okay.
So
I'm fine.
Just take that with a grain of salt.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Let me go to Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. I have a heart question about an enlarged heart.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I have is called a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Right.
And I've heard something from this fellow who wrote a book called Dead Doctors Don't Lie, that everything is based on nutrition and minerals and everything. Can my condition be reversed in any way, or can I do anything?
Not that I know of specifically. I mean, again, anybody who says everything, always, or never is not telling the truth. A lot of things are nutritionally based. I'm not specifically aware of things with the cardiomyopathy. I am aware of nutritional things that can certainly help it to the point where people become less symptomatic and function better. But in terms of curing it or getting rid of it, that I'm not aware of.
Okay.
So, as first aid, what should I do besides take beta blockers?
I wouldn't want to give you medical advice without really looking at your chart and looking at your records and really going over the whole.
Okay.
Whole issue.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, folks, let me just say that, I goofed. I lost one of our callers. Forgive me. Joel can't give specific advice, so he's in generalities, and then make an appointment for all of that.
Right,
okay.
Right, because it is individual. We need to look at each individual person's history.
Okay, I apologize to the one who I accidentally dropped off. Call back, we'll get you on. Joel's with us. Klein, he's a physician with Ventana Wellness, and 776-5368 is the local number, 541-776-5368, or toll free 1-800-373-5368. How contagious is the flu?
Pretty, but again, I don't think how we study or how we know. My best answer is, again, it's the host, not the bug. I tell people if it had to do with what bug was going around, I would be sick 365 days a year.
Yeah.
I get sick when I'm run down and stressed out. So, but at the same time, we need to respect people. First of all, people with the flu don't want to go anywhere anyway. Yeah. But it's the typical, don't cough, don't sneeze on people, wash your hands, all the usual good advice that we give people.
All right, we'll be right back. If you got any questions, give us a call, 776-5368.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. Compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, But at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back with Dr. Joel Klein, and he's a delight to have in the house. He's a physician with Ventana Wellness. And if you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to join us today. We are talking primarily about the cold and the flu bugs. And if you have any questions along those lines, give us a call, 541-776-5368. And Rita, I apologize. So you're next. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead,
Hi.
Rita.
Oh, hi. I have a statement before I asked my question. I had the shingles due to extreme stress for a short period of time, and if I have it again, it's going to be a 2x4 behind the barn.
Right, I understand.
But my question is about turmeric. I'm hearing so much about it. I keep it on in my kitchen counter
Right.
for Indian cooking and so
Right.
forth. But is there any truth to this can cure all?
It's not, nothing is a cure-all. Again, everybody wants what they think of the magical thing, but turmeric has amazing both liver supportive and anti-inflammatory capacity. That's why the Ayurvedic Indian doctors in India will say, they're eating turmeric with every meal. People, they're not used to seeing people as toxic as Americans, even by the time they're in their teens. So Indian cooking, obviously using a lot of it. They're doing more studies of it in India because obviously they're interested about this. And absolutely, it is very helpful. Is it a cure? Nothing is a cure-all. And again, as my Ayurvedic physician friend Dr. Mishra would tell people, if you're unhappy, the most healthy diet will still get turned into toxins. Nevertheless, it's very good and very helpful for a lot of people.
Ah, good. Okay, because I'm hearing so much about it right now, and I didn't know whether it was the Cure of the Month Club.
It's very helpful, but again, everything at Secure the Month Plug are people who are trying to make a dash money out of it for a year and a half before it then falls off the radar screen and something else comes on. But all these things are helpful, especially if used synergistically.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you, Rita.
Happy New Year.
You
Happy New
too.
Year.
All right. Hi, Jennifer. What's going on with the kidney stones?
Uh-oh.
Well, my husband had a kidney stone a week
Right.
ago. Went into the ER. They said he had one in one kidney. He had one at the opening of the bladder. Obviously, that was the attack he had.
Right.
It's been a week now. He has not passed the stone, and I'm wondering how long typically could that take to pass the stone? And secondly, the other one that's in the kidney, will that tend to pass right away, or could that be in there long periods of time?
This would be specific medical advice that I really can't give you because it depends on the stones, depends where in the kidney it is.
Okay.
Yeah, urologist really. I've had two of them, and they are crystallized anger. At least they were in my case. But yeah, no, you need to be working with a physician because I don't have enough information to.
Okay,
to tell
I
you
just
on
thought
that.
maybe it was general. And what about the doctor actually said drink lemon juice every day? What do you know about
yes,
that?
helping to acidify the urine can dissolve some of the stones. That can help with that. Mostly what they found is drinking a lot of water to keep the stones from forming in the first place, to keep the urine dilute so the crystals don't form, is the most important thing. It also depends on the kind of stone that it is. There are different types of stones. There are what's
Acidic or
called-
calcium?
Well, it's calcium oxalate, there's uric acid, there's hydroxyapatite. So, and the different stones would determine different treatment. So they actually need to analyze the stone after he passes it. Usually, at least they used to do this, have people strain their urine, literally urinate through a strainer and catch the stone when it finally did come out so they could do a chemical analysis on it.
Right, and that's what they said, but
Right.
it's been a week and we're thinking,
Well,
okay,
then
what's
you need to talk to
happening?
the doctor because, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
That's been a while.
Okay, great. All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Bye-bye. You've had two? You've had two?
I've had two. Oh, yeah. I can tell you that. And the one happened right after the morning after I told my staff half jokingly that I was going to call in sick the next day.
Really?
Yeah, I was trying to practice with 2 thumbs in splints. And it's a long story of that period, dark period in my life. And 5:30 in the morning, yes, asking ye shall receive. And said, okay. And then, yep.
Well, I got my kidney stone stories too. I'll hold those for another day. All right. Can allergies pop up as a result of cold or flu?
Not as a result of.
Okay.
So the problem is sometimes discerning one from another, especially when people get congestion or get some problems during that time of year, and that takes a little bit of work. But they don't necessarily cause each other. No.
Okay. All right, so you were talking about zinc, and what about vitamin C? Where are you?
You know, vitamin C, and it depends on how you look at this. Yes, some people do really well with high-dose vitamin C. Some it doesn't make a difference. I don't think it's a panacea. The guy who was the big proponent did win 2 Nobel Prizes, so he wasn't a dummy. Yeah. And actually, when you learn about the scientific basis of what he was recommending, it's very solid and is very.
Now, is it true you can't OD on B and C?
No, it's not true. You can. The problem with C is, if you take too much, it'll give you diarrhea. They did do a study. The problem is people with pre-existing kidney disease can make their kidneys worse with high-dose C. So that is a problem. Certain Bs also do cause a problem. So most Bs are okay, but you can overdose. When they were using high-dose vitamin B6 to treat carpal tunnel syndrome, and they found out when you gave too much B6, it actually caused a nerve problem. So, you can take too much.
Okay. Again, if you got any questions for Joel, he's with us for a few more minutes. 541-776-5368, 541-776-5368, or online, or excuse me, toll free, 1-800-373-5368. Well, a lot of folks did get the flu shot. Some people get the flu anyway, and you know the argument, the drill there. Well, I got the shot and got the flu.
Because every time when we give the shot, they're doing a prediction. They're looking at world epidemic patterns, and they're trying to predict ahead of time what strain is going to cause the problem. And they sometimes make wrong predictions. And I remember, one time they looked for the hepatitis A, and then it turned out it was a B virus that year that was occurring later in the spring that was causing the problem. And then again, it's sometimes distinguishing what was a real influenza versus what was another viral infection. So the main thing, the shot is not to prevent you from getting sick. The shot is to ease the complications and prevent it from people. They do better with it when they have it. But there's no guarantee of anything.
All right, I'm hearing something else in all of your answers here. One is stress, and the other one is emotional health.
Well, both the same, right?
Okay.
Sure.
And you got any comments on that?
Absolutely. That's like I said, that's really the root cause of everything, obviously. And what I could call our psycho-spiritual health really determines the health of our body in many respects. So that our immune system doesn't work as well, our hormone system, and there is a very intimate connection between our nervous system, our hormone system, and our immune system that's all going into this and affecting all of their functions. Increased stress decreases function of the gastrointestinal tract because blood's being shunted away from the GI tract because your body thinks you're in danger. We don't have time to digest food and eliminate. So as you'll hear me say every time I'm on this show, ultimately that is one of the major contributors, and in many people it is the contributor.
Yeah. All right, let's take a few more calls quickly. Hi, Bob. What's your question? Bob? You there? Hello, Bob. Didn't get Bob. All right, let's go to Marge. Margie, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you got another kidney stone question?
I do.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Am I on?
Yes.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to know if an aspirin does help kidney stones.
No. Not that I'm aware of. I've never heard of a way that an asprin could help kidney stones.
Okay,
and if you have a kidney stone, I will tell you that taking an aspirin is like spitting in the ocean. It's not going to touch it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very painful.
Well, okay, that was my main question.
Okay, thank you. What about aspirin?
Again, the whole issue with blood thinning does play a role, and it does seem to be helpful. I feel that there are other ways to do it, but they haven't been scientifically studied in the same way. Yeah. I had some friends who were practitioners in Colorado who did a small informal study of their own patients. So they didn't publish this, but they found that taking vitamin E and fish oil affected the platelet function the same way that taking an aspirin did.
Oh.
But you're not going to find that scientifically.
Yeah.
So again, people who are at higher risk of vascular problems with heart disease, you don't want to do it necessarily for stroke patients, because thinning the blood in stroke patients can actually make them more prone to the more dangerous kind of stroke, which is what's called a hemorrhagic stroke. Yeah. Especially that's why they don't put them on blood thinners. Mm-hmm. There is data that it's helpful. But the older you are, the more likely you are to have stomach problems from it. So we have to couch that.
All right. See if we can squeeze in one more. Hi, Lori. What's your question?
I know that I need to supplement with zinc, but have a hard time tolerating it with my stomach.
Right.
Is there other ways I can take it, or foods that are high in zinc that would be able to raise my zinc levels?
Yeah. I'm blanking on the foods. There is one very, very tolerable. Most of the forms of zinc out there are not very tolerable. There is an outfit called Albion Laboratories, A-L-B-I-O-N, and actually a number of online nutritional sellers. If you find Albion chelated zinc, which means this zinc has been bound to amino acids, it tends to be very absorbable and much easier on the stomach. The magnesium that I usually recommend is the same way. That their products, they don't sell supplements, but they sell their chelates to people who make supplements. But you need to look for the word Albion chelates, and that's usually better absorbed.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Why is zinc so hard?
It's just the chemical forms of zinc that are used are a little rougher on the stomach. We're not used to getting that way. And I apologize, I don't have off the tip of my tongue the foods that are higher in it. I have a little book sometimes because I can't keep all these things in my brain.
So is there calcium, magnesium, and zinc?
Right. You can find a CalMag zinc supplement. Yeah. The problem is a lot of them, and we could do a whole show on this, they use cheaper forms of the minerals that are cheaper to use, but they're also much less bioavailable to the body.
Okay.
So if you see something with zinc oxide or magnesium oxide, this is rusted minerals that, especially if you're older and you don't make as much stomach acid, don't get absorbed very well.
Okay. So, but are the three usually used together?
They're commonly needed, although the calcium need has been grossly overblown. Magnesium and zinc are needed, and it's good to balance zinc with magnesium, so that's why they're commonly sold together as a combined supplement.
All right, there you go. Dr. Joel Klein, Ventana Wellness, and you can go to ventanawellness.com and take a look at their website. He's one of the physicians there and does a good job. If you need a good doc, there's one right there. Thanks for coming in, Joel. Good to see you, buddy.
Thanks, Gary. Always a pleasure.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, I am delighted to have a very special guest with us. We're going to have Charlotte Hayes with us on the phone. She's a best-selling author of several books on Southern manners and cooking, so I already like her, including her big hit, Being Dead is No Excuse. You probably have seen some of her works in the Wall Street Journal and New York Magazine, Weekly Standard, and others. But today we're going to talk about her latest book, When Did White Trash Become the New Normal? A look at several interesting things about our culture. For those watching on theDove TV, there's a picture of the book, and I'm sure you can order it through Amazon or check it out at Barnes & Noble. So, Charlotte, nice to have you. Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you for having me so much. It's very cold here in Washington today.
Oh, boy, you guys been snowed in. You got electricity, I hope.
I do. I'm not snowed in, though, thank heavens.
Okay. Well, interesting book. What made you take this on?
Well, it's supposed to be a funny book, and I really hope it is funny, but there's also sort of a serious thesis to the book. Tattoos and borrowing more money than you can pay and taking more out mortgages that you really can't pay back. These are really symptoms of something very, very serious. And as I said, I hope it's a funny book, but I talk about Arnold Toynbee, the English historian, who said that when a society takes its cultural clues, from the underclass. It's a society that's disintegrating. Is it doomed? Yeah, I hate to talk about class because we got this fellow in the White House. Well, he's not in the White House this week. He's in Hawaii. We paid for him to get there. Who talks about class and tries to turn us against each other, class warfare. And that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about behavior, and I'm talking about the notion that if you will work hard, you can succeed. But I also do talk about taking cues from the underclass. I talk about tattoos, and I've got sort of a white trash money management tongue-in-cheek guide where you answer such questions as, should I limp when I go to the disability office? And I talk about sort of, raising your kids in a white trash way. I talk about the dolls that are made for little girls. The dolls that kids are exposed to now some of them look like they should be running on a morals charge. I mean, they look like pole dancers.
So, what do you mean by trash?
What I really mean is a kind of laziness and sloppiness about values. It's sort of tongue in cheek, but it's symbolized really. The sort of white trash symbol would be the defunct or dead tractor in the front yard, a dead car in the front yard, up on cement blocks permanently there. And the sort of motto is, "Hit don't make no difference. Nothing's worth the effort." And I think a lot of us, we see a lot of that now. This sort of attitude that it just doesn't make any difference. I think the symbol of white trash now, for me, is the foreclosed McMansion with a swimming pool in the backyard, mosquito infested, of course, since it's foreclosed, and that just sort of, taking out a loan that there was no way you could pay back. It's not because the economy is bad. Sure, the economy is bad, but nevertheless, before you signed on the dotted line, you should think, gee whiz, can I afford this? And I think we're in a civilization where people don't ask themselves sort of basic ideas like, gee whiz, can I afford this?
Haven't we, in some ways, Charlotte, glamatized this by some of the reality shows? I mean, we've made it normal.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Jerry Springer, the famous segment, Honey, I'm a Hoe. And we have some silly recipes in this book, and one is the Honey, I'm a Hoe cake to commemorate Jerry Springer. But, I got to tell you, I was attacked recently in The Nation magazine, which is, the stalwart of the left.
Right.
And they said, golly, this is a book about class warfare. And really what they didn't like is the idea that conservatives such as myself say that if you work really hard, you can make it. They want to say, we need government handouts to make it. The system is failing people. And the Nation says, Hayes even mocks the idea that full-time work alone should be enough to escape from poverty. The colonists at Jamestown and Plymouth, she writes, knew you had to work full-time and then some and maybe still do a little starving. Well, that's actually, it's a really harsh statement, but that is my thesis. I think if you work hard, you can get ahead. And white trash values is really not working hard, not caring, thinking things don't matter.
Isn't it interesting, it's been said with the recent controversy with Phil Robertson and Duck Dynasty that you got Miley Cyrus that got promoted and seen as okay, and he got excommunicated, so to speak.
Well, actually, you brought up a great point with Duck Dynasty. My book is not really about class. It's about behavioral patterns. And Miley Cyrus is white trash. Phil Robertson is not white trash because, he's worked hard. He's had a successful business, and you got to say he's got strong values.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question about it. Do you talk about religion in your book?
I absolutely do, and the chapter on religion is called White Trash Buddhist. And listen, I'm not knocking Buddhists, and I'm sure there's some great Buddhist scholars even in the West. But you have all of these people who basically have no knowledge of the Western Christian tradition, so they decide that they're Buddhist. They just find out one day they're Buddhist. And I talk about this guy in my building. He has a blue goatee and lots of tattoos, and he says he's a Buddhist. And he said, I hope I'm not over-intellectualizing this. And I thought, boy, if there's one thing you're not doing, it's over-intellectualizing anything. Because, I talk about the fact that going to church, I say in the book that I'm not going to deal with, that I'm going to deal with the God part of religion later, but I really never get around to dealing with it. I talk about the sociological impact of religion, and I sort of say that, going to church on Sunday, you don't do it just to keep white trash values at bay, but raising your kids with a religious background is a darn good way to make sure they don't turn out white trash.
It appears that you have pretty much hit everything square on that a lot of people have become genuinely concerned about today. There seems to me, in spite of what some of the media will tell you, that there's an underground swelling of a pushback now from this nonsense. Do you sense that?
I do sense there's an underground pushback, and I'll tell you what I think. What I think the pushback is going to take. Look, I don't know who used the phrase, but somebody said this Duck Dynasty is going to be the sort of midway. The Japanese, that was the battle they lost, and it turned the war for us. Well, that's going to be the midway, which really. We're going to come back to traditional values, and I think you see that a lot. But I'll tell you what I think it's going to take. I think a lot of the reason we see people turning against traditional values is we've been told this is a lousy country. We've been portrayed as a country that landed here in the 17th century and just pillaged our way across the continent, committing genocide merrily as we went along. And I think. And that's not the true story of America. And I think in order to go back and reclaim our religious traditions and our manners and our cultural traditions, I think we've got to have a different view of American history, and that requires a different view in academia. And let's face it, academia is really, in my view, the ultimate white trash values locale.
So, what can you say to parents who are fighting the sex and violence in entertainment and advertisement that has become normal?
I would say have dinner every night with your children. And I talk in the book about a friend of mine who's a big old liberal, unlike me. But every night she had dinner with her kids, she and her husband, and they made them behave. And if somebody misbehaved, she would say, "I'm going to send you to bed without dessert," which she would do. And I think as a result of having dinner every night with their kids, these were boys, so she didn't have to not buy them these slutty-looking dolls. But I think just being present with your kids and telling them that this is a great country, and taking them to church and Sunday school. I talk about when I was growing up, people went to Sunday school. I actually can remember the first time I ever met anybody who was not affiliated with some religious organization. And I wasn't shocked that he was an atheist. I was shocked that he didn't have a cultural religious affiliation. And I say in the book, if you don't know at least one verse of an Isaac Watts hymn, you may be white trash. So I would say make sure your kids learn one verse of an Isaac Watts hymn.
Wow. Well, in closing, Charlotte, what do you want? What's your goal with this book? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, I just want people to think about what's happening to us. I certainly don't want them to make any of the recipes in the book because they're sort of jokey recipes like the Elvis sandwich, which is a variation on the mayonnaise sandwich. So I do not want you to eat a mayonnaise sandwich or a honey I'm a hoe cake. But I do want you to think about our values. I do want you to think about our history. And I do want you to think that the next time you're with your cell phone, maybe you don't want to spill the intimate beans of your life to a captive audience on the subway.
All right. Well, you may want to check it out. The book is entitled When Did White Trash Become the Normal? A look at the spread of white trash culture to all levels of American society. And by Charlotte Hayes. There it is, a picture on the book on the screen for those who want to check it out at Barnes & Noble or maybe online at Amazon. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you so much.
Best to you. And you got anything new you're working on?
Well, I'm thinking about another book. But it's something serious, and I can't talk about it because I'm afraid I've never done a book this serious.
Well, let us know when it comes out, okay?
Thank you.
All right, God bless. Bye-bye. All right, that's our show today, Focus Today. And again, the name of the book is When Did White Trash Become the Normal? Don't let the title throw you off. There's some really great chapters in there. and then her chapter on Psalm 23, and also her chapter on religion as well. So check it out. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.